it's all falling apart today. Panic everywhere. Nobody knows what's going on. The sky is falling and nothing makes sense. Cats becoming friends with dogs. Bitcoin, toxic Bitcoin maximalists being nice to the XRP community. No, I'm kidding. They'd never be nice. But what is actually going on here? XRP is down over 7%. And at least it was a little bit before I recorded this video. I'll pull up the exact figure. I'll just pull it up now. What is it down now? Okay, so almost 7%. It was over 7% before I started recording. We're splitting hairs here, though. And the entire crypto market, of course, down as well. It's a sea of red. Equities on the whole are down too, by the way. S&P 500, Russell 2000, you name it. Which is fascinating because there's actually been a lot of good news yesterday and today. In fact, in a video just yesterday, I was wondering out loud if today could be a sell the news event. And I wasn't really sold one way or the other necessarily, but I was thinking it certainly could be a sell the news event as, certain macro conditions resolve themselves, which I'll speak about in the early part of this video. But, on two key topics, uncertainty has been replaced with clarity. And, that's normally a great thing for markets. And why? Well, simple concept. Because markets like predictability. So even though people sold the news today, market participants will ultimately feel more optimistic and safe investing in risk-on assets like XRP and crypto now that a couple major headwinds have been removed. So that is good news ultimately, even though the market's down at the moment. But, the many analysts who have warned that things could fall apart in the short term increasingly look to be correct about that. But it doesn't mean to be catastrophic, just to be clear. But the good news is, that is how bottoms are formed. That's the truth. And nothing is broken on the higher time frame, according to almost 100% of the chart analysts that I follow. So we'll get into it. But XRP is at $2.43. Bitcoin at 107,877 bucks. But look at the 24-hour lows rather. We saw $2.39 for XRP just a little bit before I started recording. What was this, 3:05? Yeah, so about 2.5 hours ago. For Bitcoin, dropped as low as $106,609. Now, as I flash back and forth between the XRP and Bitcoin charts, for those of you looking at the screen, do you notice that they're the same damn chart? Okay. The asset class is moving in tandem. There is nothing broken with XRP. Fundamentals are stronger than ever. Markets react the way that they react in situations like this at times. Nothing's broken, folks. Everything's fine, big picture. It doesn't make sense to be fearful here. I'm not the least bit fearful. But what actually happened? Well, part of it is sell the news. Here's the headline from CoinDesk indicating just that, and this is clearly a piece of it. They posted this in the morning. Crypto markets today. Bitcoin tests $110,000 as traders sell the news on Fed cut U.S.-China deal. And so we got great news yesterday, mostly anyway. Fed cut the federal funds rate 25 basis points. That's 0.25%. We got news that on December 1st, quantitative tightening is ending. So no, that doesn't mean quantitative easing is starting, but still quantitative tightening ending. That's a good thing. The only slightly negative thing about it, if you're talking about the major bullet points from Jerome Powell, is that he said it's not a foregone conclusion that there will be another rate cut in December, but the market does still seem to think that's the most probable thing. So on the whole, great news. And then you got news today from on the Trump tariff front with President Xi in China. It looks like that's going in the right direction as well. There's a friendly meeting, I believe it was in Korea, and everything's good there too. And so there's broad indication this is fantastic, and that looked like a sell the news event as well. And just really none of this is catastrophic. I'm just highlighting that people behave like this at times. And I was wondering yesterday, are there enough people that had bought in to actually sell the news? Because leading up to this, there was so much fear that I wasn't 100% sold either way, because there are clearly so many people on the sidelines. And maybe that's why the sell the news is more dampened than it otherwise would have been, frankly. But those are temporary things. And then after the people sell the news, what does the market have? Well, the market has clarity now. The market has gone from uncertainty based on these headwinds that I just cited here, because these were headwinds, uncertainty, to now having clarity. And so markets like predictability. So moving forward, yeah, it's actually ultimately going to look good. And Tom Lee certainly thinks so. Here's a CIO Fundstrat Capital guy, very famous in the world of crypto, 546,000 followers regularly on CNBC. And I think he's got a great track record. And he did indicate, Well, Trump stating USA and China prosper together, says that's good news for trade relations and good news for equities and crypto, maybe especially crypto. Now, of course, again, we got to sell the news event today. That doesn't matter. That's a flash in the pan type event. If you're talking what results for the remainder of the market cycle, yeah, I'm on the same page as Tom Lee with that. It's going to be good. It's going to be great, in fact. Also drops after FOMC days, pretty normal. Look at this. This is from chart analyst Alex Wasey. Shared this with his 198,000 followers. And you can see that he's highlighting FOMC drop, new Bitcoin all-time high. And he wrote that 3 times because this is dating back the last few times that there were FOMC days. And so, yeah, you had the FOMC day. Jerome Powell flapped his gums and syllables fell out of his mouth. And then he had a drop in the market. And then Bitcoin hit a new all-time high. And so he's just saying, yesterday thumped again. Guess a new all-time high is loading. Well, maybe that wouldn't be crazy to think. I just don't think this market's over for Bitcoin, and certainly to end without an alt season would be absolutely wacky. I am not on board with that concept. Crypto Wizard echoing the same thing here. He wrote, after FOMC, it seems there is a pattern. Following the June and July and September FOMC events, Bitcoin declined before rallying to a new all-time high. Since FOMC yesterday, the market has dumped. Will it repeat the pattern? And he posted that at 3:56 p.m., so a little over an hour ago. And he noticed the same thing. It's not the end of the world, my friends. The market's going to rebound ultimately. We're not done. Here's another one for Crypto Wizard. Bitcoin price chart. He says, back to support. After calling the upside rally, I warned a retest of $110,500 can occur whilst filling the CME gap. And that's exactly what happened. Now Bitcoin needs buyers to step in again. If they do, a breakout can trigger an inverse head and shoulders. Here's a post from on-chain analytics firm Santiment. And this is from this morning, 10:49 a.m. Bitcoin's dip to $107,000 Thursday has led to a high amount of sub $100,000 Bitcoin price predictions. In this chart, $50,000 to $100,000 calls, that's in blue, and $150,000 to $200,000 calls, those are in red. So you can see the percentage there. It's pretty bearish, right? It says markets move opposite to the crowd's expectations. Therefore, a relief rally is probable while FUD is peaking like it is now. Yep. And nothing's ever certain, but again, probability. If you're speaking probabilistically, yeah, I'd vote up rather than down. I'm not saying we're literally at the bottom of the second, but yes. Here's a post from Credible Crypto. And this is from this afternoon, 12:17 p.m. Bitcoin just barely clinging on to the daily demand zone here. Would have preferred it held for some relief before another swing lower, but if we can't hold it now, that swing lower probably comes sooner. Again, this doesn't change the big picture. Even if we go sub $100,000, anything above $74,000 is just short-term noise and nothing more, in my opinion. But posting this as a reminder again, so people don't lose their minds and capitulate out of unwarranted panic if this low time frame zone doesn't hold. The one good thing that would come from a breakdown of this daily demand zone is that it should speed the process of this correction up. That is, if we are going to get a larger move down, then happy to get it over with now so we can move on to the next stage of expansion sooner. So he thinks that we're probably, even if we go down, nothing's broken is the point. That's the key takeaway. Don't panic. Everything's fine. You can go way lower without the charts being broken, in his humble opinion. Here's a post from Mustache. Altcoins. He says the rotation from gold and stocks to crypto is currently taking place. It takes time, so be patient. Of course, they want to buy your alts at a bargain price before they send it. I see no reason to panic. The higher time frame looks solid, just a bear trap. So sentiment of this as being a bear trap in crypto, that makes sense. As far as stocks rotating to crypto, I don't know if that's how he meant to word that. I don't think that's remotely plausible. Frankly, they're risk on assets. Crypto and stocks move in tandem together. But if you're talking about gold rotating to Bitcoin, yeah, there's historic precedent for that, certainly. Funny enough, though, as equities were down today along with crypto, gold was actually up a little bit today. Nothing crazy, but up. Isn't that something? Inverse correlation very frequently. Here's a post from Bobby A. Says, remember when the moment comes that I said this on October 10th, 2025? That was a liquidation day a few weeks ago. Ethereum will outperform damn near everything out of this correction. And he posted that this afternoon at 2:41 p.m. So he's still bullish on the whole. And yes, he said he's expressed concerns about XRP recently, but he's still bullish, big picture. Here's a post from chart analyst Zoom, XRP US oil chart here. He says, XRP US oil broke back down into the consolidation zone, and I was hoping for it not to get rejected when trying to break out again. Well, it did, and this isn't looking too good. That's a direct quote for XRP on the XRP US oil chart. This isn't looking too good. Well, yeah, and fair enough. The whole market's down, though, so that's what I'm saying. Just in context here, it's not like there's something broken with XRP, and he's not asserting that. I'm just saying keep everything in mind. The market is down. The XRP chart looks the same as the Bitcoin chart right now. What does that tell you? There's nothing wrong with XRP is what it tells you. Here's a post from CW from this morning. High leverage long positions on XRP are dead. Okay, so look, using leverage is stupid. It just is. But as I frequently say, if you're going to short XRP, you're going to be wrong most of the time because the chart is up and to the right. Why do you need to play that game? You don't need to, you just are because you're a damn fool. It just doesn't make sense. So yeah, small percentage of the time, if you long XRP, you could be wrong in the short term, but big picture, you're wrong. It doesn't make sense to do this. Why not just hold spot XRP and then just chill for however long it takes to get life-changing wealth? Because that works. Here's a post from chart analyst Zimka. This one is for the XRP community, where I see some gurus preaching for the end of the cycle. Bros, it is hard to see this range as anything less than a long reaccumulation after November's surge. In Elliott wave terms, an ABC with a sharp ending in the C wave. Very common. Last shakeout or spring. There is basically no difference to this reaccumulation example on gold years ago. So you got XRP on the left, gold on the right. He's saying the same chart structure is playing out. He's saying, yeah, this is normal. You got that burst in November for XRP last year. We're currently in reaccumulation mode, which historically is normal too, by the way. And he still believes the last major final leg up, it's still coming. This is just noise. In bull markets, you do have things like this happen. You do get dramatic pullbacks. Welcome to crypto. Don't need to be scared about it. Here's a post from chart analyst Casey Trades, XRP USD on the screen. XRP is reacting exactly as expected after rejecting the wave 4 resistance near $2.68. Price is now turning bearish, and RSI is making a new low, starting to confirm that wave 5 down is underway. On Coinbase, the key supports to watch are $2.42, $2.03, and $1.65. Breaking below $2.42 would confirm continuation toward the lower targets at $2.03 and $1.65. Yeah, so I'll pause and note, we did dip below that, but it was very brief. So sometimes if you just get a very short wick on whatever time frame you're looking at, maybe it doesn't necessarily matter. So I don't know if she actually thinks we're going to be going down to closer to $2. I can be doubtful, but that she'd think that. But both lower levels have alignment with the wave 5 extension. If we include the wick from the crash, the target lands right at $1.65, the macro 618 retracement. This move should complete the final wave of the correction before a massive wave 3 impulse up. Folks, it's got to pause here to note, the analysts who have been acknowledging that XRP could go lower and that crypto markets on the whole could go lower, about 0% of them, at least out of the ones that I follow, think that we're actually entering a bear market. They're like, yeah, it could go down. There are warning signs, but then we're going to rampage to the upside. That is what I consistently see. And then she writes, once the bottom forms, the next impulse should be fast and obvious, cutting through resistance on the way to new highs. As price approaches wave 5 support, I'm watching RSI for bullish divergence to confirm exhaustion. A new RSI extreme would mean further lows are expected. Yeah, so look, fair enough. But there's obviously a very real opportunity sooner rather than later for XRP to rampage to the higher, ultimately hitting double-digit price targets, which is what the analysts that I follow on the whole still expect. Just because we've had this pullback today, they're not freaking out. And I got to tell you, if 1 year ago today I could have known that Bitcoin would be at $107,000 1 year later, and XRP would be at $2.43, and Ethereum would be at almost $3,800, and all they go down the list, I'd be thrilled. So let's add some perspective here. The market's been fantastic. In fact, the market cap, it's at $3.54 trillion. Before the election, it was at, I think, $2.2 trillion. It's up substantially, right? Even with the pullback, it's up substantially. And it's just going to keep, if you let enough time pass, years and decades, it's just going to keep trending up and to the right. So why are you freaking out? XRP's an early winner of the crypto space. It already won. We have to question if it's going to make it. It already happened. We just don't know how long it's going to take for it to get to even higher prices. But that doesn't mean it won't happen. You know what my conviction is? Higher, ultimately, because utility matters and will win the day. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.